A couple of days ago, I was looking at my older artworks when I realized something in common with all of them. And this wasn't a good thing. Oh man, did my art really look this flat? I mean, I swear guys, I watched those same perspective videos you did. Like, draw a box, 1.2, hey, this is not too bad, but I mean, I thought I knew perspective, but it just looked like I didn't actually know how to apply perspective to my drawings, which is why I'll be covering how I use perspective in my current artworks to give them that 3D feel. So let's get started, guys. Alrighty, so I'll just quickly cover vanishing points and what perspective actually is, right? In case you don't know. But if you do, feel free to just skip ahead of the video when I actually start talking about tips and tricks. So, perspective is essentially just turning something from a 2D flat object into a 3D object. And how do you do this? By vanishing points. Now, vanishing points are the points where all the lines in a drawing will eventually converge. So, if my vanishing point is here, and I try to draw a cube, right? The front plane is normal. It's just your average square. But the other lines will begin to converge at that vanishing point, which creates the illusion of depth. It looks 3D. And when you have one vanishing point, this is known as 1 point perspective. And there's many other points, 2 points, 3 points, 4 points more, 5 points, 6 points, 7, 8, and they all affect a cube or your objects differently. Right now, that doesn't mean that 1 point perspective is bad and 8 point is amazing. They just have different effects, and it depends which one you're looking for, what effect you want to convey, and what story also you want to tell. So here, this is 2 point perspective, right? It affects both sides of the cube and kind of gives that angled, really 3D 3/4 look. And 3 point affects the vertical lines of the cube. So it sells the look of something massive approaching, or something very, very tiny, depending on where you put these points as well. If you want a top-down view, maybe put your vanishing point, here. If you want a bottom view, seeing things from the bottom, put your vanishing point there. And with the very basics out of the way, I can now start talking about how I personally use perspective in this drawing here. So guys, when I start an illustration, I always make sure to choose where my vanishing point is going to be and how many of them I'm going to use. Like you could see right here in the thumbnail sketch, I have my vanishing point here, right? Where, the lines will be all converging here. Some of them, maybe they're not perfect, maybe they slightly miss, but it's all about selling the effect of perspective, not being 100% fully accurate all the time. And then here I have a different perspective with the same, just 1 point perspective. So I thought maybe this would look cool. I just didn't like it, so scrapped it. But you could also experiment with, 2 and 3 points to see, hey, maybe I want to try a different perspective to see how it looks. But this is also for your idea, right? So usually I write out an idea beforehand so that I know what I'm going for, what kind of story I'm going to tell. In this case, the vanishing point behind the creature, so right here, would help sell that, this is a chase because everything is converging from here. So it looks like, some sort of path that they're going on. But if I wanted this to be a face-off, for example, maybe I would have done 3 point perspective with the tiny Mario here and then the massive creature. It looks pretty intimidating, right? But that was not what I was going for. And another thing, dude, I actually use the vanishing points, please. This is like one of the first things that I will tell you. Just make sure to plop down those vanishing points. As I said, you don't have to be 100% accurate, but it's good to know approximately where the lines should converge. Nothing stands out, and this is a bad point as well. Nothing stands out more than just having a bunch of random perspectives. If it's usually wonky and it's not a coloring thing or a rendering thing, it's usually a perspective thing. So make sure to keep that in mind. I've done it so many times in the past, and I just don't want you to do that either. Let's go back to when I was constructing this. You can see a bunch of shapes, right? When I start drawing, got a pear shape here. I used a bunch of cylinders, another box here. This is all to help me with the perspective, right? Because perspective is pretty hard when things are like rotating and moving and foreshortening, all that stuff. it can be hard to just draw a face outright in perspective, which is why I just drew a sphere first. Drawing a sphere in perspective, I could do that cylinders, I can do that boxes. Oh my goodness, dude, that's like my love language. And it just helps you not make any weird mistakes. Like, for example, what if I didn't know that, this is the side of Mario's torso, his body, and I put the buttons here, right? It would look kind of weird. Maybe if his legs stay there, but then his torso is twisted and it just looks really odd and strange. Like, how is Mario doing that? Is he a gymnast? Nobody knows. Maybe that's his next spin-off game. And another thing here that I did was a shortcut. So with these circles, I did put some guidelines where it approximately should be, but like these cylinders, I have no clue if I did them correctly. I just felt it out because, I just really wanted to get this drawing done. Obviously, when I made those, I was like, okay, I clearly don't know how to draw them using this perspective if it's facing the other way. So now I'm going to practice that in my next, practice sessions. You don't have to be amazing and perfect every single time in your illustrations. That's what practicing is for. Illustrations is almost like for you to figure out what your weaknesses are, and then you can improve upon them. But you see how I have, some boxy shapes here for the background? If I have a bunch of these that are correct, it can kind of offset the incorrectness of the legs, for example. Because boxes are so easy in perspective, so I just drew a bunch here. And this helps sell the idea that, the perspective is going this way. Because if I just had these two, maybe it wouldn't have been as effective. Perhaps my perspective on them isn't ideal. And then when people look, they're like, okay, wait, where is the perspective? What's going on? Are they running from, like, how is his legs built like that? All these things. And another thing that could be tricky as well is size in perspective. So when we go back, a lot of the clouds that I had, small one here, big one, and then another small one, even though this was supposed to be closer to the camera. Now, this isn't necessarily wrong, but when I go to the line art, you could see that I made these bigger and these smaller to, again, help sell the idea that this is a 3D space. So the things smaller look further away. The things that are bigger look closer, which is why I have Mario a lot bigger here and Luigi a lot smaller because he's further away. This is a design principle and I think it's very, very useful. I mean, just take a look at this with boxes. And you can even sell this point more by making them overlap. So the point is hit even further that this is in front of that. Just another thing, when you want to make something look like it's in front, like it's in front, but you can't really show it. You don't know how to show it. Those are some tips that will really help you. And after you get your sketch and line art done, there really isn't that much more left to perspective. And that's because we're on to rendering. Now you might be thinking, okay, Ansh, I drew the thing. Look, I'm coloring it right now. What are you talking about? Like, where is the perspective in coloring? And it comes during the rendering phase. We talked about how when we draw, we show the planes of the shape. That's very important when you're shading because it determines where the light will hit and where it won't. So I'm onto grayscale, right? You can already see this is the cylinder, right? So this part of the cylinder will not be hit by the light because the light source is here, so it's gonna hit here. This part of the sort of boxy shape will not be hit by light because it's facing this way, but this part will. So it's not about drawing in perspective, but it's about remembering what your perspective looks like and how that's affected by your light source. As you can see, there's a fall off here. Why? Because that place is not going to be hit by light. The gloves as well. This back part is another plane. This side part is another plane. This bottom part is another plane. It's difficult because this is a cylinder, but you can start to get what I mean, especially here as well, and here. And guys, this simple step will really just elevate your artwork because now you're following perspective. Now you got another fundamental down. It's really not as hard as it seems, and it just makes your drawings a whole lot more 3D and just feel a whole lot more like they're in a place rather than just being plopped down like stickers. And here's the thing with perspective and just trying new art techniques in general. The fact that you're actively trying to implement them into your drawings will already make them look better. And I'm not just saying that. For me, as I learn anatomy, as I learn these different techniques, I'm making an effort to actually put the muscles that I learn about down. Even though they look a bit wonky, even though they may not look perfect, they still do the job and I get free training out of it. Like, who doesn't want free training? You want to get better at perspective, but you also want to draw your stuff? Okay, draw your stuff in perspective. Find a couple more videos on perspective if you still don't understand it fully, and then just go and apply it to your next drawing. Because you will get better as long as you keep practicing and keep trying. Because if you want to get better at something, you have to try. Thank you so much for watching, and don't hesitate to ask questions in the comments down below. Someone or myself will help you out. And one last thing, be sure to pick up your stylus and consider subscribing so that you never miss a video. My name is Ansh, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.